What's up, everybody? Welcome to the How to Lead podcast, a conversation designed to help you develop yourself and those around you. My name's Adam, joined by Clay. Clay, today we are going to talk about clues that your personal brand might need a rebrand. We have done an episode in the past on how to rebrand, but we want to take a little twist on that. We'll get into some real practicals at the end of this on what do you do, but this one is a little bit more of like, what clues are the universe sending your way and letting you know that your personal brand may not be as sharp as you think it is right now? So I think it'll be a good conversation.
Yeah, I love the idea that you have this, sometimes it's a quiet reputation, right? People have just, the way I had a coworker that used to say, you've gotten a t-shirt. When you get here, they just give you a t-shirt. And it has a label on it that this is who you are. And it's really hard to change that t-shirt, right? It's hard to, when you get that brand, it is, there are plenty of organizations where once you get it, it's almost impossible to change it. But we're here to hopefully bring you a little bit of hope and a little bit of activity, some initiative on what you can do to change the personal brand, especially when you don't love it.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a t-shirt thing is so good. It makes me think about the teams that I work with that have worked together for a long time, right? Decades. It's like they have crossed the line and become family in the worst possible way. And it's like that thing we do in family sometimes where it's like, oh, that's my brother.
This just the way he is.
This is his t-shirt. He is painted in that light and he will never, it's like he could totally change, but we won't let him change.
We won't let him.
Because it's just this weird human nature.
Well, my wife, I mean, I don't want to get, this isn't a personal counseling session, Adam, but my wife, if she were here, she would say that's her story, that in her family of origin, she has a role to play, and it is really difficult. They will not let her break out of the role that she is in. They will not let her rebrand.
So we can't control other people, but there are some things we can control that we think can really start to make a difference in that. We've seen some things, and we both have some great examples, and not only our own personal brands changing, but some things that we've seen in large organizations where somebody had the t-shirt on, they took it off, they put on a new one, and it's really good. So let's talk about some clues, okay? Some clues, because you can't just go out there and do. You just did something recently for your little business, a little bit of a brand audit, right? That gave you some information back on kind of what's out there in the digital space regarding Clay Scroggins and clayscroggins.com. It'd be really great if we could do one of those at work. It's really hard, right? It's hard to do that. And so we've got to kind of read the tea leaves. You got to look between the lines. You got to kind of look around and go, all right, am I getting some clues that maybe my rebrand is not as great as I think it is? And so let me just rapid fire a few of them. You ready? And we'll just riff on a couple of these. So number one, people keep seeing you as who you used to be, right? So that may be a little bit in line with what your wife said she feels like is maybe you came in and you were a part of one department for 2 or 3 years, and they keep thinking that's who you are. You're forever in financial reporting, right? You're forever just somebody over there in market research. You are somebody who's always going to be in business development. And even though you've changed roles, you've grown, they're still thinking about you that way.
You're still the spreadsheet guy, right?
That's right.
We need this pivot table run. Can you do this before Monday? That's what you do, right? Yeah, it's like your brand is almost frozen in time. And if you feel that way, if you feel like, hey, I love what you said. I've changed jobs. I don't have the same title. I'm doing something different, but people still see me that way. Yeah, that's really that's difficult when you're known for your past utility and not your current or future potential, right? You're known for that task that you used to do versus being known for what you hope to be able to bring to the organization. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, so that may be a clue. This one is probably very common. This next one is like you're being overlooked for the opportunities you want. Said another way, you're just not being invited into meetings that you think you can add value. Nobody's coming to you to ask your advice or to seek your counsel on something. Maybe people used to seek you out and now they're not anymore. This really strange thing that I've noticed is those folks and organizations that have a really strong personal brand, they are invited into so many conversations, usually conversations that have nothing to do with their immediate to-do list. It's like, oh, we want her perspective on this, or we need her perspective on this other initiative. But let's make sure we invite Caitlin into this meeting because I know she's got a ton going on, but she's going to add a lot of value here. When nobody's really pulling on you for time, that may be a clue, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, or even if you're getting passed over, right? Hey, we got to go present this material. Who can we ask to do this? And you're over there going like, I don't actually want to raise my hand, but I would love the opportunity to do that. They didn't even think about you as an option.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's an important clue to go, all right, well, if that's who I want to be and that's not currently who I am, that's maybe I need a rebrand.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So again, we're just going rapid fire here. If you yourself struggle to articulate what is your unique value add to the organization, what are your unique skills? If somebody said the proverbial, if you get hit by a bus today, what will your team miss the most about you? If you struggle to articulate some of that, then that may be a clue that if you can't articulate it, then it's probably chances are strong nobody else can. And so that may be, hey, you need to take some time to think through how you would articulate that.
I don't know who wrote about this, but I remember that line, fuzzy brands get forgotten, right? But it's this idea that when something's just foggy, when it's not clear, and to your point, Adam, you can't even articulate it.
Yep.
It's just really hard to stand out. And so learning, I guess this is a mini coaching tip, but learning to find that one-liner for what it is that you do, how you help, and why it matters is so essential. I mean, this is one of the things that I don't think I did this until I was running my own business, but running your own business forces you to do it, right? Because you're almost forced to go, oh, I got to real quickly be able to say, here's what I do. Here are the kind of people I help. Here's how I help. And here's why it matters. So learning how to do that, I mean, that is part of the rebranding process.
Yeah, yeah. And so, again, that's one where silence can just can speak volumes. If you don't know how to answer that, if people aren't reaching out to you, all of that may be a good clue. And then the last one here, and then we'll jump into a couple things to do. And you alluded to this one earlier with number one, but you're stepping into a new role. You're stepping into a new leadership level. You have new responsibilities. And so you quite literally can't be the same, you're not the staff person anymore. You're not the junior manager anymore, or the assistant manager. You are now the manager. You're now the senior director. And maybe internally, the way you're thinking about yourself and your own personal identity hasn't caught up with the title yet. But that may be a clue as well, because you actually do need to rebrand because you have a new role.
Where I see this most, Adam, is when people get promoted from a group of their peers, and they're now leading their peers, right?
That's right.
And their peers yet are still, I guess there's more joy than we think that there is when you get removed from the group chat, right? That you might need to get removed from the group chat because the boss probably isn't in the group chat. But that's right. Really hard when you've been in the group chat for a while. And you feel very comfortable there. But now you're in a role where you're leading your peers. That's really difficult to do. But to your point, that is a sign that you potentially need a rebrand. That's a clue.
Yeah, I mean, we saw an example of this recently in our practice, where somebody had gotten the title change and didn't quite change behavior, that went with the title change, and it ultimately it hurt everybody, right? There were just not a lot of good decisions that were made, and it really goes back to that person didn't recognize, I'm in a new role now, and there's some new behaviors that need to happen there. And so, lots of different things there that could be this clue. I think for me personally, if I was coaching someone, it would be listening or looking for that silence, again, that you're not being invited to. What room do you want to be in?
Right.
And that one I think is absolutely the one that I see most often. So let's real quickly talk about.
Can I say that in a way? I meant to say this earlier when we got to that one. Your personal brand at work, it should create a pull for the kind of work that you're aiming to do, that you're hoping to do. Good. Right. When you're at your best, when there's synergy, the brand that you have is actually pulling you to the work that you're hoping to do, right? And that's why that silence is so important, because if you're not feeling the current in the ocean where you can just feel, if you're not feeling that current pulling you toward the kind of work you're hoping to do, I think you're right. It's a clue that you might need a rebrand. But we're going to talk about exactly, all right, what do you do? How do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you,
Yeah.
if you decide, all right, I need to rebrand, all right, now what?
Yeah. So let's say three things here real quick, and I'll just I'll read them out, and then we will go through each of them here. And so number one, I think, is a question, like a reflection question for us, is this brand that you want, does it align with the gifts and the skills and the strengths that you actually have? And so is it a reasonable brand reputation that you want? I think that's really important. We're going to talk about how important it is to get and act on feedback, and then the role that patience plays. So I think these are three rebranding tools that work really well. But Clay, I think this first one is so important, and you've got an interesting story, and I know it's from the church world, but I think it's relevant, and we can all find ways to apply it to the marketplace. But talk more about does the brand align, the brand you want, does it align with the gifts that you have? What was the example you saw in the church world? Because I think
in the church world, the person with the microphone usually has all the power, right? And this is not true in every organization, but it's certainly true in the church world, because the person that's given the sermon, given the message, I mean, it's ridiculous how much time that is proportionally to the rest of the time that people experience on a Sunday. You might go to the church service you go to for an hour and 15 minutes, and oftentimes the sermon is, 60% of what you're there to do, just interacting with one person. And so it's just a very common occurrence where somebody would want that so badly to go, I want to be the person that's up there doing that. But then you and I you'd come in contact with them. You go, I don't know that's. I know that's not the way they see you now. But right. I don't know that knowing what I know about you, I don't know that you'll ever be able to do that, because I just don't know if that aligns with the gifts that you have. Maybe in another way, it might be, I want to be the creative person. I want to be the person that's bringing the ideas. I want to be seen as a person that's able to bring the creativity to a meeting, to a project, and because that's, I don't know, it's more fun in a way, right, than being the strategic one or the systems person. But you really got to have there's a gut level honesty that you got to have of a willingness to look in the mirror and go, but is that really the way I'm wired? Or is that just something that I want to do because I wish I was wired in that way? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of that where, I love the example that you're talking about from the church. It's like, because in some ways it's like, I want people to think about me the way I think about that person. And and we think that's so somehow true. Like the brand, it's not it. So I think that really is it, right? If you want to be the strategic person, but yet strategy and thinking strategically is not something that comes naturally to you, then you may need a rebrand, but you need to make sure that it's the right one, and it's one that's going to be sustainable. Because if you're trying to establish a personal brand and a reputation for something that doesn't come naturally to you, it's just a recipe for burnout. That's all it is, because you're going to be trying to pretend like you're somebody that you're not. Okay, the one that I've seen, and this is going to be, again, somewhat Captain Obvious, but the second one is where I've seen the most examples, which is you have to get feedback, and this is really important, not just getting it, you have to act on it.
Yeah.
Right. I think of one or two people from my past and people that I've worked with, past colleagues, that had one reputation that completely changed them. And the one thing that they all did, and I'm sure they had to do number one and make sure that they wanted a brand that lined up with their gifts, but the one thing they did is they received feedback. Here's my behaviors that are having a negative impact on my reputation and brand, and I'm going to change those. Right? If they said I'm not a listener, I'm going to become the best listener. If they say I'm using humor in inappropriate ways in meetings, I'm not going to use humor in inappropriate ways in meetings. If they say I don't follow up, I'm going to be the king of follow up, right? Whatever I'm hearing that is having a negative impact on my reputation, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to, more importantly, act on it. I'm going to change my behavior. No better way to do it.
Yeah, and this is getting into just the definition of what a brand is, right? But a brand has way more to do with what a customer says you are than what you say you are, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what the feedback is. The feedback is going, all right, I'm going to be willing to ask and really find out, well, what is the brand? What is the feedback that people are saying as to why I might have the t-shirt I have, or I might be pigeonholed for the role that I'm pigeonholed in? And then you just got to make a decision that I'm going to actually do something about that. I mean, for me, to your point, Adam, I was the king of double booking meetings, missing a meeting, showing up late to something, turning in a project late. And you just cannot have influence at work. You can't have long-term sustained influence living that way.
Yeah.
And so I had to really get some things in order. I've told the story before, but there was a moment where we had this new employee that said, hey, I'm going to send you an email about a couple of things. I've heard you're great with email. I about fell out of my chair. I was like, you have heard that? Yes. That is stunning.
Stunning.
I've gotten the feedback and I acted on it. And not to jump into number 3 too quickly, but it did not happen overnight. I mean, that took years of me responding to emails on time, really deciding I'm not going to let one sit in my inbox for more than 24 hours. There was some serious change that had to be made in the behavior to allow the rebrand to occur.
Yep. And yeah, listen, there's some things too. I forget the resource. I want to say it was maybe Radical Candor. I'll give Kim Scott the credit, but I don't know if it came from her. But like when you're making some changes like that, another like this would be like a bullet point under that, getting and acting on the feedback to remind people that you received the feedback, that you heard it, and you're trying to change. And so you could be sitting in a meeting and you just go, hey guys, listen, I know I've gotten some feedback that I've been showing up, I show up late, or that sometimes I get distracted in these meetings. I'm on my phone all the time.
Or my answers are too wordy. I talk too much.
Yes.
I'm too verbose.
There's something about you being able to articulate back that feedback to people who have given it to you, and then following it up with, I've heard you and this is what I'm doing to try to work on it. There's something there that is really helpful. So if you start acting on it, do not be afraid to keep reminding people, you told me this and I'm acting on it. That kind of keeps it front and center. And again, you got to be careful some of the time, and you don't need to do it in every meeting, but just to remind them of that can be really helpful. And then the last one. So does this align with your gifts? You got to get and act on the feedback. The reputation is developed through behavior, and so it's going to be changed through behavior. And then listen, this is the one that everybody's going to hate. You just got to be patient, right? You just got to be patient with it because you developed the original behavior not overnight, but over time. And so
the original brand, yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the original brand, yes. And now you're just going to have to be patient, right? There's some things that are out of your control, and so you just keep controlling your controllables, doing the small things, and sooner or later, it's amazing how these things work out. It's great to know, although there's similarities between our work relationships and families, it's much easier to change your reputation at work than it is in a family. They're very, very different, and it can happen, and we've seen it happen, and I know it can happen for you.
Yeah, it's hard for us to remember that patient part, Adam, because nobody likes being patient, right? But Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a rebrand. It's going to take a lot longer than just a day. It's probably going to take longer than a year, depending on how set in cement the brand is. When would you encourage someone, Adam? When would you tell someone who they've gotten this brand at work that they don't love and they've gotten all the clues? When is it time to go, I think you might need a new start. You might need a fresh start. You might need to move on, do something different. Let's go somewhere where you actually can get a clean slate.
Yeah, I mean, that's a complex, I would use my own motivation to change as a good litmus test, meaning you've received the feedback and you look at the to-do list, the things that you need to change.
It's great.
And is there a part of you that goes, yeah, I can do that. That's not hard.
That's great.
I've been thinking about making those changes anyway. I kind of so if you have some intrinsic motivation to go, that feels attainable, then I would do it. If it's other things where you're like, I think if I started to change that behavior, I'm now compromising who I am.
Yeah.
Or it's not even the person I want to become, then that may be where it's like, hey, I need to go look for something else.
Well, just remember, you have a personal brand, and your personal brand is either telling a current story or it is telling an outdated story. And you may need a full overhaul. You might not, though. You might just need a minor tweak. But I would encourage you, start with clarity, practice consistency, right? And be patient that it's not going to happen overnight.
I love it. All right, Clay, as always, great to be with you.
Thanks, Adam. See you.
Well, that's all we got for today's episode of the How to Lead podcast. You can always reach out to us via email. We can be reached at info@howtolead.work. That's info@howtolead.work. Every episode is mixed and edited by the team over at Sound of a Rose. You can learn more about them at soundofarose.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you again next time.